What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to talk about a product from SafePoint. It's called SafeLine. SafeLine is a web application firewall. And if you guys are hosting websites or applications or different things like that in your internal networks, this is a great product. And one thing that I like about it compared to other solutions like StackPath, for example, which is no longer in business. I really like their product, but StackPath, security, different things like that. There's a lot of other paid services out there. They basically charge you per application, whereas SafePoint's product, SafeLine, you can have as many applications as you want. It is internally hosted. You can host it on several different Linux distributions. In my case, I put it on Alma Linux 10. Very simple install. Uses a GitHub, or not GitHub, a Docker deployment, and all you really simply have to do is run this one-time code. It installs the Docker, it gets everything set up, and it's very simple and easy to use. So if you need to protect your applications from web threats, bot protection, uh, denial of service attacks, things like that, really good product. The pricing model is awesome, especially if you're running multiple applications. And they do give you a free trial that you can run for 7 days. And one thing nice too is you can go through and look at a full live demo on their website. My case, I have 9 applications that are set up. This is my true dashboard here. I'm not going to show any personal identifying information on that, but you can see lots of requests, page views, all kinds of information, things like that. You can see the blocked countries. You can see the requests that are coming in. Gives a lot of good information there. One thing I will say is that I'm running the 9.3.0 version, which is the latest version. I have updated this twice. The updates are very simple and easy to do. When you have an update, it's going to tell you that there's an update available down here where the version is. You can click on it. It'll give you the code to run. And both of the updates that I've done so far have been without issue. Now, I do run this on a virtual machine and took a snapshot beforehand just in case. But like I say, had no issues or problems with it moving forward. I will say the documentation for this product is slim to none. There's enough information out there to kind of get you started and get you going. And one thing that's kind of nice about the way that they have their web setup done, there's a lot of links within it that will give you more details about what you're doing. So I'm going to switch over to their demo website. That way there's not any personal identifying information that's there. It kind of give you an overview of the product. So on their demo, this is basically the landing page. Once you get this installed, it'll whatever IP you put it on. This runs on port 9443. You type that in and it's going to give you a username and a password. The username's admin, but it's going to give you a password that you need to copy and save in order to access. General overview, it's got this little gimmicky spinning globe. I like to keep mine in the 2D mode. That way you can kind of hover over, see what countries that your traffic's coming from. You can look at, this is all the requests, and you can go in and narrow just by blocked. So in this case, United States, Switzerland, India, those are the top blocked countries on their applications that they have here. You can see queries per second coming in this case, not a very popular site because this is obviously demo. If we switch back to mine, you can see that, we're getting 1, possibly 2 queries per second. Go through here, you can look at just request status, blocking status, what browser clients are being used, what operating systems, different things like that. You can see the response status, a lot of 404 errors, which is pretty common because you've got bots that are out there trying to scan and see what applications you're running to figure out what vulnerabilities they may be able to attack with. Referring applications and popular applications and referring pages, popular pages. Good bit of information there. You can actually drill in, see a little bit more information, but I do wish that they had a little bit more, I guess, stats and logging to be able to dive into. But for what it is and what it's doing, it does have a good bit there. Security posture just gives you a little bit more in-depth information about the IPs and real-time events that are happening, what kind of attacks are you're being protected from, and you have allow and deny rule hits that are available there. This does show you the full URLs of the attacks that are being hit. And obviously, you may not have some of these URLs because they're trying to find vulnerabilities within the site. But that's nice that it will show you what they're trying to attack. Attacked applications. This list, obviously, if you had more websites and things, is going to show more than just one here. You've got rate limit trends, anti-bot trends, waiting room trends, authentication trends. I'll kind of get into that stuff a little bit later. The data dashboard, this is kind of a gimmicky little, I don't know, battleship type interface. If you had a spare monitor sitting around and just kind of to watch where attacks are coming from, you can throw the screen up, you set it in full screen mode and just kind of, oh, you think my battleship, whatever. So again, kind of gimmicky, but you can set that in a light theme or a dark theme and just have that running and see what's going on. If we go into applications here, these are all the applications that they have on their demo site. They're all set into defense mode right here. If we pick on this data or the dashboard proxy here, you could go in here, you can set it into audit mode to where it simply logs but doesn't block. You can also take the site offline. This is really nice if you have internal access to your applications but want to take and limit external access to it. You could take it offline, do updates, different things like that, and it has a nice little page that just says that the site's down for maintenance. If we go into the detail of here, this is basically where you're going to make setting changes and different things like that. If you click on the little edit pencil here next to basic, you can select your sites and what ports that it runs on, the SSL certificate that's applied to this, and then what the upstream server is. So this would be your internal server and what port that it runs on. So you can in some ways do some port mapping and different things like that based off of whatever URLs or domains, different things like that that you have. The enable upstream health check, what that basically does is if you look at this little green checkbox here, and also if we go into the applications, you can see that we're green. If for some reason it's unable to access or the health check fails, it will give a little X symbol here, and you can kind of monitor that from within this dashboard here. So back under the detail page, you can set up the different security profiles for each of the particular applications. HTTP flood, for example, it's turned on with basic limits. You can actually go through and set the limits for each application. So if within 60 seconds, one access requests a challenge, and the challenge is for a minute, basically, is how long it lasts. Those are all editable. You can take and add different rules within this application, all kinds of things that you can do within here. Select different pages, different things like that to handle information that's available, and you can set attack limits, error limits, all kinds of limits that you can do per application. It's very nice. Bot protection, set that up. You can do anti-challenge if it's an automated browser, dynamic protection, which can basically protect with these things. The HTML dynamic encryption, I tried that on a WordPress site and it failed. So it says it's recommended, but I think they got to figure out a better way to make that work. Basically JavaScript dynamic encryption and the picture dynamic watermark. I'm not quite sure what those things do. And I did test the dynamic watermark and didn't see that it would work. The anti-replay, what this allows is capture requests can't be resubmitted. So again, like I was mentioning, you can click on links and it will tell you in detail what those do. This basically will, allow it to where the sender can't just capture data and resubmit that data and have access to the site. The authentication mode, what that allows is if you enable that without authentication, they can go direct to the website. With authentication, they actually have an additional authentication page that they have to go through and enter username and passwords. And you can set the authentication types and usernames, passwords under authentication here. I'll show that in just a few minutes. Attacks, this allows you to set the different types of modes that you want for each of the different attacks that this will protect from. You can set all this information globally as well, but you could go per application and make those changes. Traffic analysis, what that allows you to do when it's enabled is if you're under the stats page, right now this is showing for all applications. If you click down, you can have it specific to each of the applications that you have enabled under that traffic analysis. And then security posture is the same thing. So security posture will allow you to basically narrow down the stats that you see from that security posture side. You can enable access logs right here to where we'll click in it. Basically just shows you the IPs and kind of what they're doing. You can, by default, these are disabled. You can enable those, and then you have your logs that are here. One thing that the internet does recommend to use caution is enabling lots of logs and things depending on, how much space that you've allocated for this server to run off of. Error logging as well. You can take and log errors and different things like that. So within the advanced tab here, you've got lots of different options and things that you can change. If you are running, like, say, Apache, and you need that host header to be passed so that it knows what website to serve, you can check this box here. We can hit customize. You can check that box and turn that on. In this case, it's a read-only environment, so we can't make any changes within their setup. You can enable gzip compression, the Brutali connection compression, different things like that. You can force HTTP to HTTPS, modify host headers. You can go through, determine what SSL protocols are enabled within that. You can set additional headers. By default, in their environment, you can't, but you can pass different host headers and things like that for when it hits that downstream server, in this case, the server that they have located here. Routings basically just shows the resources and pages and things that are within the site. You can go in and remove and different things like that. You can set paths to exclude, include, different things like that if you wanted to as well. From here, you can set the different mode that's running, and that's pretty much the setup and all of that. If you are adding an application, you simply add it here, choose what you're trying to do, select the SSL certificate that you want. You can add new certificates. This does have the ability to use Let's Encrypt, but you do have to have a certificate uploaded in order to basically add the site. And then you can, once the site's added within this, you can do the Let's Encrypt in SSL certificates. So it will allow you to do self-signed certificate to at least get it in set up within here. And then once you have that done, in fact, I'll show you. If we click add the certificate, it takes us to the setting page. And from here, you can click add cert and get a free cert. So again, like I say, you need to upload your SSL cert first, upload your private key, and submit that. And then you're allowed at that point to create the site. And then you can go back here and add a certificate with a free SSL cert, adding the domain, email address. It will generate the Let's Encrypt SSL for you. You can go into your application, hit detail, hit edit, and then select that new SSL that you've uploaded. Once that's done, you can go back into your settings and delete your self-signed that you uploaded to get that working. So again, under applications, pretty well covered everything that's here. You can edit and remove and all of that obviously from here. If you want to change the name of the application, you can hit that edit, change the name of it. You can upload like a little icon or whatever. If you do have a fave icon that you're using on a website, it will pull that and display that within a little icon that's put here. Otherwise, it's just this little globe icon. Next, I'm going to click under attacks. Now, attacks basically shows you all of the events that are happening, attack count, and what IP address it's coming from, and what application that it's hitting. You can click under the attacks. It'll show you that it was blocked, what type of attack it was, where it came from, and the time. You click into detail. It'll show you a little bit more information about what was submitted, the payload and all, the request that was sent, and the response that SafeLine delivered to that request. Anytime that you see a IP address, gives you some information where you can click add IP to a group, or you can look at the IP info. The IP info will show you on their little IP intelligence site here. You have this little bot that you have to drag a puzzle piece and match it up. Once you do, it will show you, some information about that. People have submitted to different databases and kind of what all is happening within that IP. This does use like a publicly generated IP block list and different things like that, which is very nice. To kind of show you that under settings here, these are the different lists. So you've got your malicious IP group. In this case, it's you can click update, and also your search engine spider list that you can update. You've got malicious fingerprints that you can update. Now these are updated automatically, but if you want to force an update, you just click update. And in my case, what I ended up doing was I created 2 more groups here, one that was called a whitelist and one that was called a blacklist. And as I kind of mentioned from here, you can hover over, add to group, and then in that group, you could hit blacklist that IP if it's not being blacklisted already, or whitelist IPs that you may have for, let's say you've got, an application that employees use, and they're getting blocked for some reason. You could take and whitelist their IPs if you wanted to. To do that, what you simply do under settings, you would add an IP group, just name it, and you put a reference on it. If you wanted, a reference would be like a URL list or something like that. And then you type in the IP address or the CDIR format. Single line. One thing that you do have to do in order to create a group is put some content here. So what I always did was just do 1.1.1.1. Obviously, Google DNS, but type in the name. So we just put like a whitelist and hit submit. When you do that, it creates that. And then when you're back in here, go through, hit an IP address to that group, and then you can go back into that group and delete that generic IP that you put in. Anytime that you do add to a group, it basically adds 1 line for that IP address. So with that, you can go into your allow, deny, and create custom rules. So you could go through here, add a rule that says I want to allow or deny, and you could name it, and you could say that it's a source IP and it comes from a group, or it's not in a group. Also in your rules, you can set all kinds of stuff up. You can block URLs, you can block URL path, host, get, post requests, different things like that. There is a lot of different logic within here that you can set up. You've got geolocations that you can block. For example, if if you're a business and you only have employees that are within the United States, you could say it's in a geolocation, and you could go through here and say, only North America, and that would allow this under an allow to only serve people that are located in North America. Now, obviously, if they travel out of the country or whatever the case may be, you need to be a little careful with that. But you can stack conditions. So you can say, I want this rule, but I only want it to apply to this application here, the data proxy or dashboard proxy. You could take and basically stack your rules up like that. You can enable, disable. So again, under attacks, you can go through, see all the information that's available there. You can do some filtering, different things like that. You can click under logs. Logs just kind of gives you a little bit more detailed information on the fly about, what's being hit, what's happening. That's a code injection from Switzerland. Click and look at detail again. What was sent to the client and what the response was. From here as well, you can click add to IP group or check out the IP info. So allow and deny. This kind of, again, is just some more data that you can see. This particular IP address in the United States has hit them 44 times. Obviously, looks like they're trying to look for vulnerabilities, mainly PHP. It's being blocked because it's in a malicious IP address using their global IP list that they have there. So lots of information within there. And of course, from here, this is where you can create those custom rules if you wanted to. HTTP flood, this is where you can set up different flood rates. We go into settings. This is basically, applicate or not application wide. This is, global for all of your applications. But then I showed you in the previous section that you can do these independently as well. So waiting room, what that does is it allows, basically just directs them to a waiting room, and basically for, high traffic periods, or if you've got really slow websites and things like that, and you want to put someone in a waiting room to allow, more time for your applications to process things, you could do that. Anti-bot is where you can go through and basically set automated programs and, non-browser, basically bots, to have to pass different automated challenges and different things like that. Or not automated challenges, but CAPTCHAs and things like that. So authentication, this is where you can set up users for being able to access the website. So without authentication, obviously they can just get direct to the application or website. With authentication, there's a username and password. So kind of acts as an additional protection layer. So if you've got, again, company facing application that you want to protect, you can do that within here. Now this does allow certain, like you can have a single sign-on server that you are using from here, and then you've got different login configurations as well, to where you can use like third-party logins through GitHub and LDAP and different things like that to set that up. Or you can go through under users and create user and password from within here. So you could apply, I guess you could create a generic one if you wanted, or you could give each of your users a username and a password that they have to have in order to access the applications. And again, these can be application specific as well, based on the rules. The settings within here, again, we kind of talked about IP groups and everything. SSL certs, we kind of covered that. Blocking pages, this does allow you to, quote, customize the tip message and customize HTML. I have found that that's not really easy to do. They do have pretty generic HTML code there. I haven't actually tried to copy and paste HTML into this, but from what I read on the forums and stuff, is you got to be very careful with this, because it doesn't really transcode a lot of what you and I may think HTML is. So the generic landing pages work pretty good by default. You can change the color of the pages, but they work pretty good by default. So performance, depending on how you're running this, if you're running this on the same server as you're running your websites or applications. You can put it into a single thread mode. If you're running this as an independent, virtual machine, or if you have a physical server that you're running this on, you can run maximum performance or balanced performance, depending on, how much resources that this is using. The data logs here, you can take and set it to where it doesn't clean at all, or it cleans them on a time schedule. Again, I haven't experienced this because I've been using it for a short period of time, but people say that the logs can get pretty big pretty quick. So, enabling like a 30-day setup on those may be a wise thing to do. You can run multiples of these to handle load balancing and different things like that. So, in this case, they have master and slave type setups, and it does require an additional license if you run multiple of these SafeLine appliances, but it does give you the ability to have them synchronized together so that you don't have to set them up independently. Notifications, you can have notifications sent to Discord or Telegram, and the way that those notifications are set, you can have it notify you on attacks and just basically anything that the system's watching, and you can set the frequency that those notifications are. I wish that they would add the ability to maybe email notifications, things like that. So maybe that's something that's on the roadmap. Maybe it's not. You can take and send the data to like a syslog server if you would like. And from here, you got information sharing where you can share the malicious IPs and things that are hitting your site and add it to the database. And then user experience program to where they just kind of collect information and things like that. Obviously, if you're worried about privacy concerns, you could disable either of those. I think with malicious sharing that you have to have that enabled in order to be able to update your site with their data as well. So not too concerned about that, but the user experience, that might be of concern depending on what kind of data that you are protecting with this. So all in all, love the price model of this, being able to protect multiple applications with basically one price. It's $1,000 a year, which, if you had security, let's just say, I think it's $300 per website. So in this case, it would cost $3,000 to build this type of protection within security. And most of all of the other web application firewalls that are out there that are, hosted in the cloud are running on that same price model. This one, if you do have the hardware in-house to be able to support it, it's awesome. It's amazing. Like I say, I've been using it for about 2 weeks now, so I don't have a ton of experience on it, but I do have 9 applications up and running, and I haven't had really any false positives or things like that. I did take and do a little bit of research, chat GPT, different things like that. And in fact, let's go look at that real quick. So if we go to chat GPT, basically if we looked at SafeLine in a balanced mode, the detection rate was 71% with a 0.07 false positive rate at overall accuracy at 99.45. So that's pretty good. And if you look at Pro, and 90% detection rate, 0.7% false positive. And if you look at like mod security, for example, way better than mod security. If you got it in high paranoia mode, it's even better than that. And if you look at like Cloudflare or something like that, 10% detection rate. What good is that? Yeah, the false positive rate is about the same, but so key comparisons to that is that in the balance mode, it's detects more malicious traffic than Cloudflare. Balance mode, it's comparable to the free tier, and overall accuracy 99%. So very high detection rate, very low false positive rate. So yeah, all in all, great product. I think if you're looking for a web application firewall and have the ability to host it yourself and a little bit of knowledge on that, very simple to set up, very simple to use, and it just works. It works great. So If you guys are interested in seeing a installation of this, I will take and spin up a virtual machine and show you how to install it. And maybe depending on the next update, I can show you how smooth that the updates go on this as well. So post in the comments, let me know if you want to see more details about the SafeLine product. I do have a link that I'm going to post in the description that will get you guys, I think it's 10%, it may be 5% off. I'm not sure, but do have a link that I'll post in that. So if you are interested in this product, use that link. It'll get you a little bit of a discount on the SafeLine product. And if there's any other videos that you guys are interested in, please let me know. And I appreciate you watching the video.